an express version of Starter Sit right now on FFT Express. It's Adam and Jamie here. 7 games we just talked about on our full-length show, but we're going to give you the quick hits. Tennessee at Chicago. Jamie, break it down.
Not a lot of must-start options here, which is surprising when you have guys like DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley. But I think the Titans defense is going to surprise a lot of people with the additions they made in their secondary, notably L'Jarius Sneed. And for the Bears, their defense really stepped up in the second half of the season after acquiring Montez Sweat. And Jalen Johnson's going to make things difficult, I think, for Calvin Ridley. So a lot of flex plays, a lot of number 3 receivers, but not a lot of must-start options. And that includes Caleb Williams, who is outside of the top 15 quarterbacks for me this week.
Yeah, this is one of those games where if you see guys struggle, just don't hit the panic button. This is not an easy matchup for Tennessee or Chicago in week 1. Very interested to see the backfield splits for both teams. But, Swift, is he in a timeshare? We will see. But is he your highest ranked running back?
Pollard is my highest ranked running back. It goes Pollard, Swift, Tyjae, who I think has some sleeper appeal because the Bears really struggle with pass catching running backs, and Khalil Herbert. No.
Yeah. Dallas is at Cleveland. Another kind of Debbie Downer game or no?
Yeah, unfortunately, 2 teams that, should be in the playoff hunt, but tough defenses for both teams. Cowboys have some offensive line questions they need answering, running back questions they need answering. We'll see Lamb play a full allotment of snaps. You're clearly starting him. But Dak, I think, is a tough trust this week given the matchup. And then for the Browns, I think the best player, honestly, is probably Jerome Ford. He did very well. Safe floor, weeks 2 through 17. He didn't really do much in week 18, but 2 through 17, basically 11.1 PPR points, the majority of those games. So you kind of know what you're getting. And the Cowboys run defense, we'll see how they do perform. That's kind of was a weakness for them last year. So I think we'll see Jerome Ford as a borderline top 20 running back. Watson's tough to trust. Cooper's for me, a high-end number 3 receiver, but not a must-start guy in 2 receiver leagues. And don't love David Njoku with Deshaun Watson.
Right. But you're not sitting David Njoku. That's
no. Again, one of those players, like he's in the bust alert and start sit, which means just don't have high expectations.
So he played 5 games with Watson last year. I think in those 5 games, Deshaun Watson averaged 222 passing yards per game. And in the games that Njoku played with Joe Flacco averaged 98 more yards per game than Watson did in those 5 games.
6.8 PPR points or less in 3 of those 5 games for Njoku.
Yeah. So we've got Houston at Indianapolis. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Like a lot of players for the Texans, Joe Mixon, I think, is just kind of at least for now, a set it and forget it, number 2 running back, even in a tough matchup. But Nico Collins, amazing, absolutely amazing against the Colts in 2 games. Last one was 9 for 195 and a touchdown. Tank Dell in the 1 game, 7 for 73 and a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, in week 2. And I do think this is kind of one of those show off the shiny new toy games where Stephon Diggs gets fed quite a bit as well. Outside corners, not as good as Kenny Moore, for example. So I think you'll see CJ Stroud challenge on the outside there. You're starting both quarterbacks. Richardson, you talked about this on the full length show, in a little over a quarter, 2 rushing touchdowns. He's probably going to look a little ugly in this game throwing the ball because it's a very good secondary that he's facing, plus a good pass rush. But I think he'll find a way with his legs to make enough production to be a top 10 quarterback, just not a top 5 guy where I had him ranked in the preseason. And Michael Pittman, I believe it was 18 targets, 12 in 1 game, 6 in another. He had 13 catches in those 2 games. 1 game was 8 for 56. So Heath talked about this, 13.6 PPR points. That's not awful. But they were second. The Texans last year were second in the NFL in fewest receiving touchdowns allowed to receivers, behind only the Jets. Jets allowed 6. Texans only allowed 10. Pittman last year was allergic to the end zone. I don't think this is a game where he finds the end zone. So number 3 receiver for me at best.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We've got 4 more games to talk about here, including Las Vegas at the Chargers. That's up next on FFT Express. Raiders and Chargers. What do we got in this game? Who do you like in this game?
My pillow. This is going to be a boring one, I think. But look, you're starting Davante Adams. He talked about this. There's not a lot to love about him, but I don't think anybody's sitting him in this matchup. You're starting Zamir White.
You know what? There is a lot to love about him. He's going to have a big game. Davante Adams.
I hope so. I'm obviously been very pessimistic about his outlook for the season, but look, Minshew is going to target his number one guy. Brock Bowers is not 100%. I don't think that the Chargers defense is automatically going to flip a switch and be fantastic. So you just expect a low scoring game. And the Chargers, if they have their way, which they might, a lot of time of possession, which limits the opportunities for Davante Adams. So again, I don't think you're sitting him. I don't think he's a top 10 guy this week. If he scores, you'll be thrilled about it. But we know part of the reason why Michael Pittman didn't score touchdowns was Gardner Minshew. So we'll see if that carries over from one team to the next. Zamir White, I would start. I think he's going to be in the other side of the grinded out performance. And his best game of the season last year was against the Chargers. You throw it out because of what it was, but still, best game of the season, 17.5 PPR points. For the Chargers, nobody's a must-start guy. Herbert certainly not. Palmer, for me, is the one I feel the most confident in. But again, I don't think they're going to throw the ball to the level that we were used to seeing. So pick your favorite running back if you're desperate. I would still lean Edwards over Dobbins, but Dobbins has been getting a lot of hype. So I you know me, I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, New England's at Cincinnati. Your thoughts on this game?
I mean, we got such a boring slate of games on the AFC, except for two: the Colts, Texans, and Dolphins, Jaguars.
I got one more that I like.
Start all Bengals.
Two
to
more.
an extent.
Start all Bengals. Yeah, no, because not the running backs, right?
Well, I think both are in play as flexes. You're looking at an 8.5-point favorite at home against the Patriots defense that is missing its best run stopper. And so could you see Chase Brown with 15 total touches? Yes. Could you see Zach Moss with 15 total touches? Yes. Could both have an opportunity to score touchdowns? Yes. So is it slam dunk? Do I want to start them? No, I would prefer to avoid them. I would lean Moss over Brown slightly just for this week alone. But if you told me right now that, hey, Chase Brown was on the field when they were at the 2-yard line and they gave him a touchdown, or they're up by 2 scores and Chase Brown punches in the touchdown in the fourth quarter because Moss is resting after he scored one of the touchdowns, like I could see either scenario unfold.
I'll take that. And you like Stevenson better than them, right?
I do like Stevenson better than, but not a top 24 running back. So these are like top 30 options. Heath kept referencing Chuba Hubbard. I actually don't love Chuba Hubbard because I think, despite the fact he's going to get a lot of work, it's a tough matchup. So I would start Stevenson over Hubbard. I would start Hubbard over the other of the Bengals guys.
Chuba Hubbard facing the Saints this week. And all right. And did you mention Higgins?
I think he's a must-start guy. Even with Chase playing, you're talking about the guy that's been there all training camp, all offseason. Rapport is clearly established without anything having to worry about that with Joe Burrow. But like for this game only, he's probably the alpha.
And how about Jacksonville at Miami? Better flex. I think I asked you this on the show, but Christian Kirk or Raheem Mostert, half PPR.
Half PPR, I'd go Mostert. I think both Dolphins running backs are in play for this week. Again, you look at implied total, 49 points. Mostert's still going to get the first opportunities and may get the majority of opportunities. Achane's going to be the home run hitter, and you should feel confident in starting both based on where you drafted Achane plus how Mostert should operate in this game. For me, it's this one is definitely start all Dolphins. Forget the tight end, but you're starting the 2 receivers, you're starting 2 running backs.
Yeah, you like this game a lot, but gonna wait on Brian Thomas. Gonna start Christian Kirk. Gonna wait on Brian Thomas. Ingram, we're starting, and you like Lawrence and Tua better than Dak Prescott this week, right?
Correct, and Purdy.
Arizona's at Buffalo. I actually am looking forward to this game. Arizona,
yeah,
this is a good one. I'm also looking forward to it, and not so much in a fantasy way, but Dallas at Cleveland. I think there'll be a good game. You got 2 contenders there, but Arizona at Buffalo. Thoughts on this game?
Kyler's a must-start guy. I think James Conner is a must-start guy just because when he's healthy and getting the chance to get the majority of work should happen in week 1. He's talked about his role in the passing game. We'll see if they go away from him completely in that regard if they are chasing points. So I'm still considering him a top 20 running back, not a top 10 guy, but top 20 guy. If he scores, will be in the top 10 most likely. And Marvin Harrison, look, you didn't draft him top 15 overall to sit him. Trey McBride's a must-start guy. For Buffalo, you're starting Josh Allen. You are starting James Cook. You are starting Dalton Kincaid. And then it's a guessing game. So you mentioned Brian Thomas. I think Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman are all in a similar situation where 3 receivers and a flex, you can consider them as one of your top 4 options if, in fact, you are inclined to go wide receiver. So I'm curious to see if Shakir, this will be the first game. We saw a little bit in the first preseason game against Chicago where they were on the field together with Josh Allen. And it was a little bit of Samuel, a little bit of Shakir, all of Keon Coleman. We'll see how they use all 3 guys throughout the course of the game. Samuel is going to play despite the toe injury.
All right. That's it. That's it for FFT Express. We'll do this again tomorrow with the NFC home games. Have a good one, everybody. See ya.